I'll kick it off with some initial questions. So, given your background in emerging tech, what do you see as the biggest technological challenge that organizations face today, and how does this course equip participants?
Hmm. Um, well, I think that things are there's a couple of different things, probably two or three things. First is the human perception of exponential growth, and understanding how technology is actually moving at an exponential pace, and our inability to perceive how fast that change is actually coming and happening. And most organizations then look at that and go, okay, we've got a little bit of time. We have an opportunity to explore our current technologies. And I get it. You want to sweat those assets and get as much out of them as you can. But the problem is that things are changing so rapidly, you can't do that any longer. Um, so exponential change would be number one. Number two, most organizations these days use the word transformation in a performative manner. They aren't really doing transformation, they're doing substitution. So they're taking
Mm.
one piece of technology or one activity and they're substituting it for another. An example is moving from an on-premise version of your Microsoft Exchange, moving to an Azure version, or, oh, great, we're going to move our data center, into an AWS infrastructure. Those types of things aren't really doing anything transformation. It's a straight substitution. At best, it's an augmentation of what's currently happening, and that isn't transformative. That's not going to keep them going in the future. Um, and then number three is a cultural thing. Building a culture of transformation and a sustainable ability for people to go and, or sustainable practice, pardon me, for organizations to lean on um, delivering and experimenting with technology within their organizations is a big challenge. So it's, there's three kind of, I guess those are all soft areas. And then after the soft skills, yeah, you have to have the bench, the knowledge, the muscle, and develop that internally, and then disseminate that information across organizations, which we all know communication is a challenge too. So.
Um, okay, and then so how do you then incorporate real world industry insights into the course content to ensure relevancy?
Yeah, so the important thing, there's a couple of things that we do. First, we want to talk about the history. And so you can't understand where we're going unless you've understood where you've been. So we kind of take a look at the consolidation or um, the uh, the flattening and the compression of all of these different types of tools that have led us to where we are. So compute, connectivity, um, and probably mobility are the three big things. Now, arguably, AI is that fourth one that's going to sit on top of it. That you need to understand where all of those things came from, how they came to be, and what the compounding results of all of those things are on where we're going in the future. So you look at that. Um, Understand where we've come, understand how to scan the horizon, and see where technologies are going to come from in the future, understanding which ones are going to be important from you, and then a skill that allows you to measure and weight which ones you want to invest in, which ones are going to be the most pertinent for you and your organization and your business going forward. So some math to be able to calculate new revenue potential or cost savings potential, or other metrics, whatever those KPIs are based on an individual organization, and move them going forward and accelerate them going forward. Dollars aren't always the best way to measure it, right? So you got to understand what your business currency is. So as businesses, the currency is measured in hydraulic fluid. So how do we save the amount of hydraulic fluid? Other might be GHGs. Other might be actual cash and capital. That's what motivates them. Others might be social good or social justice. So what do those KPIs look like? How can you measure against them to solve a real business problem? And then which technologies have we seen in the past and where that's going in the future, line it all up, push it out the door, and there you go. You got a methodology for going forward.
Given your experience in data-driven strategies, how does this course help leaders to harness data analytics?
Mm.
And then how to use those data analytics to drive that digital transformation.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So first of all, we got to talk about the different types of data, and whether they're structured or unstructured data, the sources at which they're coming from, understanding how we're collecting it, making sure that the collection of it is meaningful. And then once we've done that, there's 7 different qualities or dimensions of data that we kind of look at inside of this course. So understanding the 7 dimensions of data, and then how to actually analyze or pull information out of that data that is going to be meaningful for the organization. A lot of companies have a lot of data, but it's a lot of soup and messiness. It's really hard to pull out the tender bits that you want and that are going to be actually meaningful. So identifying, all of the pitfalls and things like that are with it. There are the other opportunity is though is being able to look at it and forecast where you're going in the future. So looking at data is looking at something that has happened in the past. The only point in having that data is to actually be able to use it and apply it in a methodology or a framework, an algorithm, so that you can predict what's going to happen in the future. But that only gets you so far. So you got to make sure that you're being really wise. And most people are looking at the wrong data, to be honest with you. So when we understand all of the different complexities, the 7 attributes or the 7 dimensions of that data that you need to preserve, that gives you a clear indication of what to get, how to get it. Then we can take the questions and start asking questions of that data and what it means to us as an organization in the future.
Along that vein, what is the most critical mindset shift that then the leaders need to take to successfully lead digital transformation initiatives?
Yeah, I think, boy, that can get really deep and super philosophical. But I think that leaders owe it to their team and their people to encourage that type of exploration and growth and experimentation within their positions. Um, Instead of being a time measured organization, we need to be outcomes measured. Because if we're outcomes measured, that would encourage people like us on this call to seek out the most efficient ways to deliver an outcome, which is the application of technology usually, um, instead of just, well, if I sit at my desk and spend 8 hours a day doing this job, that's how I'm compensated. No, if I can do that job in 2 hours because I'm outcome measured, I should still receive the same compensation and should be encouraged to continue to do that across, all the lines of business. And the other problem is people are scared, right? There's no psychological safety when you go into organizations to be able to deliver things that you think are the right things to do. People are either in a comfort zone where they're like, I make my money, I go home, I do my job, or they're apathetic and they're worried about, sticking their neck out. So it's incumbent upon the leaders to know the tech and really be, good quality leaders.
Okay. And then, yeah, with your experience building, scaling tech in teams,
Hmm.
how does this course address those human aspects of transformation?
Yeah, and so that's a really important part of it. And it's in we intentionally weave it in to every single one of the modules because if you don't understand the implication of the technology on your constituents, whether that be internal or external, um, and the second and third order consequences of implementing technology, um, you're you, you set yourself up for one of two things. One, you're going to have somewhere down the road not be able to rein in the technology or this growth that you have going on, or have no understanding of what it's doing, or you're going to alienate and cause a bunch of challenges internally or even externally through the implementation of such. Snow melts from the edges. A wise guy that I worked with, Michael Sikorsky, who is the founder of Robots and Pencils here in Calgary, MJ, always said snow melts from the edges. And so that's where you need to be. So if your constituents, you need to meet your constituents where they are. So if you just implement technology back in an ivory tower someplace, um, it's going to fail. So we talk about all of those things and make sure that we integrate people throughout the whole conversation. You can't have technology without understanding um, the societal and corporate change and um, management that's going to be required.
What is typically in your, in the experience that you have, what's like the aha moment that draws people to reflect that they need to embark on this journey of digital transformation? So that's number one. And then number two would be through your teachings and through the kind of modules you've delivered in the past, what is the aha moment to when they realize that there's significant value and they're getting something meaningful out of it? Like what is the silver bullet that you think typically lands hard on your students?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a silver bullet, but I think a lot of people look at technology and come at it from a place of skepticism or afraid, or um, they're a little bit insecure about the approach that they're going to take with it. Um, when you break down that wall, that's number one. And number two is often people don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And so if you can share a little bit of something that's personal, um, and then they recognize and they can see that that aha moment comes when I can be a mirror and reflect back to them what they're going through. So, somebody says, well, here's what I'm doing in my personal life, or here's my hobby, or here's my interest, here's what I've got going on corporately, and here's the family and all the friends and all the nonsense that I'm juggling in my life. And I can go, okay, here's 5 technologies that you can use and implement today, or that I do to manage my life, right? When they see that I can put this to work for me, and they go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I guess I could put that to work for me. And that's the aha moment. That's when I think is my favorite time. And that's when you show them something, they go, oh. Or when you say, put your hands on this, let's do this. Like, let's do this together. Let's automate an email coming in and extracting a PDF and then taking the information out of a PDF and populating a spreadsheet and sending out another email. And we set that up in 20 minutes and they go, that's all it took. And then applying AI on top of that to generate the emails and do all of the other stuff. Like this, it's show, not tell is when aha moments happen. There, that's all of this verbal nonsense and diarrhea before. Never mind. Show, don't tell. I finally came up with it.
Awesome.
Okay. And the other question that I had was, why this course and why now?
Because this, a couple of different reasons. This course, because it is the consolidation and the distilling of multiple courses at SAIT to tease out the very best that is needed for leadership. So we've taken a bunch of curriculum that a bunch of really bright people have worked really hard to deliver and create, and built it into a single course. We are at a precipice right now from a leadership perspective, where not just leadership, everything is going to change. Generative pre-trained transformers or transformer models or large language models, whatever you want to call them, are the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to see in the next 2 or 3 years, to the point where we're going to be able to feed an AI data, and it's going to do the work of lawyers and accountants. And it's going to change the work that they have to do, I think, in a meaningful way. And so if they don't do it now, they're going to be left behind.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Those were the questions that I had for you.